In this video, we're going to be using a number of powerful functions. We're going to be using the if function, SUMIF, COUNTIF, and also SUMPRODUCT. The name of the file that we're going to be working on is called T4.22, if statement and SUMPRODUCT. I'm going to start up here in cell B4. The first function that we're going to be using is COUNTIF. And what we're going to do is we want to count the number of instances that there's an AA in the range C10 to C61. So it's a function. We're in B4. Click on FX. We're going to type in COUNTIF. I've already used it recently, so it's highlighted. Click OK. We have 3 lines of data. So the range, so within the range. So we're going to highlight from C10 to C61. So that's that first line. Release. So within this range, the criteria means what are you trying to count? So second line, we're going to type in AA. Click OK. COUNTIF, there's only one AA. If you kind of move down here, that's correct. But to verify it, quickly double left click, COUNTIF. So within this range, we're trying to count the number of AAs, and there is in fact just one. Second question, we're in cell B5, and we want to SUMIF. If we find SUMIF the quantities, we're going to sum the quantities wherever the number is NN. So within the range C10 to C61, wherever there's an NN, we want to sum the quantity in stock. F of X, SUMIF. So within this range right here, C10 to C61, the criteria, what we're looking for. So within the range C10 to C61, we're looking for NN. Wherever there's an NN, we want to sum. So for the second line, the criteria, we're looking for NN. And wherever there's a NN, we want to sum that amount, sum the quantity in stock. So wherever there's an NN, we're going to sum here, this range. There's your quantity in stock. So within the range C10 to C61, we're looking for, wherever there's an NN, sum the quantity in stock from B10 to B61. Click OK. Once again, this is a SUMIF. If I quickly double left click it, SUMIF between C10 to C61, where there's an NN, then sum anything that has anything within the range B10 to B61. We're looking for an NN. It has 400. If you're scrolling down, I tried to simplify it so you can. There's that one NN. There's only one of them, so the sum is 400. If there had been a couple of them, it would sum them, but there's only one. Next, we're going to use the sum product function. Pretty powerful function. And I mean, basically for the sum product, what it does, it can take a range or an array and then multiply it. So we're going to be in B6. We're going to use this sum product. And our two ranges are B10 all the way down to B61 multiplied by the range D10 to D61. So it's doing all this computation, and it's going to put the amount in one cell. So f of x, sum product, f of x, sum product. Array number 1, we're going to highlight it. So it's going to take all these quantity and stocks and multiply it by all these unit prices, and then it's going to sum. So there's only just two arrays, and sum the amount. Okay, so the amount is going to be 2411. Basically what it did in one swoop with that function, quickly double left click it. Here's my two arrays. This whole range here and this whole range here. That's what the arrays mean. It's multiplying them all out and then summing the result. So all the numbers from the range B10 to B61 multiplied by all the numbers in D10 to D61. If you made a mistake in that function, you click here, f of x, and it shows you what those two arrays or ranges are. Now, to prove to you what we're doing, I'm going to put in my own formula. Equal this number, quantity in stock, multiplied by the unit price. 10 times 550, quickly double left click it, all set. Copy that formula all the way down. Auto sum that amount. And it's the same number. Once again, look, it shows you the power of that function. Instead of having to go in and multiply each row and then sum it up, this function was able to do it all at once. It's called sum product, where you get a range of numbers. That's called an array. That array happened to be between your first array, B10 to B61, the second array, So it's multiplied by the second range, which is D10 to D61. Did all that multiplication, each row, and then it summed it all at once. That's what sum product is. Now, you're not going to have to do this, but it's really just showing you really what, in fact, this is the hard way of doing it, or more steps, by just taking by each row, doing the math, and then summing it all at the end. You don't have to do that. Now, I'm actually going to, just to clear it out so it's not getting in our way, I'm going to highlight it. Delete it, because we're not going to be using it. It was just to check and make sure that our function worked. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to use an if function. And once again, the if function always 3 lines of data. There's a condition, that's line 1. Line 2, if that condition is true, something happens. Line 3, if the condition is false, something else happens. Now this one is a very good example of an if function. We're going to start in E10 to put our if function in our condition. If the quantity is greater than or equal to 50, that's our line 1, that's our condition. The second line, if that condition is met, then our unit price will be multiplied by a discount, which is up here in F4. Right now it's 85%. So if it's met, it'll be this number here multiplied by F4. And the key here, because we're going to copy it all the way down, is that we need to lock in that F4 value. We need to make it into an absolute. For the third line, if the conditions aren't met, then we're going to leave it blank. Quotations, space, quotation. So let's begin. We're up here in E10, f of x, if statement. Let's even go back. Okay, if statement. We have our 3 lines of data. If our quantity in stock is greater than or equal to 50, so if B10, that first quantity in stock, is greater than or equal to 50. If that's true, the second line, if that's true, what will happen is the unit price, D10, will be multiplied by this value here in F4. Now, because we're going to be copying that formula down, we need to make this value in F4 an absolute. So by tapping F4, we've made it into an absolute. So now our formula is showing D10 multiplied by $F, $4. I'm blocking in this value here because I want to copy it all the way down. And I want the formula or the formula always to be looking up at this value here in F that happens to be in cell F4. If the conditions are not met, we're going to leave it blank. Quotation, space, quotation. Click OK. You can see here, that's why it's blank. I'm going to go to my fill handle and copy it all the way down. You can see there's been some computations here. Needless to say, this number here, 520, is much greater than 50. So what's happening? If B61 is greater than 50, well, it is. Then it's going to be D61, that unit price, what it had been, multiplied by that locked-in value, $F, $4. Otherwise, it's blank. That's quotation, space, quotation. Going up here, there's nothing in here. It's blank. And the reason why it's blank is that this 40 is not greater than 50. Likewise, 30, not greater than 50. If I made a mistake while I was working on that formula, what you do, f of x, it will show you what my initial if statement was. Here's my condition. If B10 is greater than or equal to 50. If that's true, it should be D10, the unit price, multiplied by this value up here in F4. Many people will have an error message, and if you do, it's probably going to be centered here, where you haven't made this value here in cell F4 an absolute. It should be reading D10 multiplied by $F, $4. I'm blocking in this value. So I could even change the value, but it's always going to be looking up at this value in F4. If it's going to be blank, if it's false, value of false, quotation, space, quotation. Click OK. Always to check your formulas. COUNTIF. Showing me right here, COUNTIF. Within this range, C10 to C61, I'm counting ifs, they're AA. Over here, quickly double left click, SUMIF. And what that is saying, between the range C10 to C61, I'm counting, or summing rather, summing wherever there's an NN. And I'm summing wherever that condition is met, the quantity in stock from B10 to B61. This last one, tremendously powerful function. Quickly double left click it, and it's showing me the range, some product between this range, B10 to B61, multiplied by D10 to D61. That's the array. So array 1, array 2, or array 1, array 2, or the ranges, and that's another way of saying ranges. And then we're summing up those multiplications. Thank you.